Welcome back. Now in this section, we'll be looking at Python variables. What are Python variables? Python variables act as containers for our value. So when we have a value we want to store or we want to use, we store them in a variable for easy reusability. Now, let me show us how we can create a variable. Now, for us to create a variable, we make use of the assignment operator, and it takes up this syntax: variable name equals value. So right here, with the use of the assignment operator, we are storing the value inside of the variable name. And let me quickly show us an example of this. I'll create a variable name age and store into it a value of 30. Now what I'm doing here is I'm storing the value 30 into the variable age. So I don't actually need to remember the exact value I stored in my age, since I know that, okay, this is my age, and throughout my program I don't want to keep racking my head on, okay, what was the age I previously stored. When I want to update it, I need to remember, then all those kind of stuff. It relieves us of that, so we are able to reuse our variable easily without having to remember the exact value we placed in it. So right here, we can just print this out using the print function we used earlier that allows us to print something on the console. And right here, this, if I run this, I can press Ctrl Shift F10 or come here and run the app. And here I can see that it's giving me back the value I stored in age. So this is one of the core things that we need to know in programming: how to make use of variables. Now, this is not the only way we can assign variables in Python. For instance, let's say we have two, three values that we want to assign the same value to. For instance, variable A and variable B. We want to assign the same value to them. We can use something that we call a chained assignment. And for us to do this, all we need to do is say A equals B equals 1. Now, with this syntax, we are storing the value 1 inside A and inside of B. Now let's print this out to see our result. So I'll print A, then I'll print B. And once again, I'll just run Shift F10. And as we can see, 31, 1, which shows that the same value has been stored inside A and B using the chained assignment. Now, one specific thing about Python variable is that they are dynamically typed. What does it mean for it to be dynamically typed? It means that it takes the type of the variable takes the type of the value stored in it. So it can change depending on the value that you store in it, even if you update that variable. For instance, let's look at A and B here. A and B has been stored with a number right here, which is 1. Now, if I come down here and I say B equals to Stephen, B equals to Stephen, and I print B this time, B would no longer be 1. Now B would be Stephen. So let's run that. Now, here we can see that B here is 1 and later becomes Stephen. Now, Python is an interpreted language, so it runs line by line. And as at line 8, B was 1. By the time it got to line 10, B was updated to be Stephen. So the value now stored in B is now a string and no longer a number. So it has updated it, and now by line 11, we are no longer seeing 1, we are seeing Stephen. And most languages are statically typed, which means that you cannot change the type of value you want to store inside it. For instance, let me just write a quick snippet here. In Java, you would naturally do something like this: string name equals, um, let's say, Jesse. And with this snippet of code, you cannot update your name to now be equals to a number. This will prompt an error in Java. But in Python, this can be done. You say name equals Jesse and name equals 7. By this point, name was the value stored in name was Jesse. And by the time it got to 14, it has been updated to 7. And this is a different data type from this. So one thing about Python, is that it is very it is dynamically typed, so it is a flexible language. So that is another thing that we need to take note of. Okay, let me get rid of this. Now there are rules that guides us when we are creating variables, and those rules are very simple. They are a bunch, but I love to break it into this just one single one. Make use of meaningful variables. Let your variable names be meaningful. Don't go around and name your variable as x1, x2, x3, or sorts of names like that. Make sure your variable names are depicting what you are storing inside of them. For instance, here, age is very, we can easily relate it to what we, a concept. For instance, I want to store my age and I'm storing it as X. Okay, that should, okay. I'm storing my age as X. In my program, I may not remember that it was actually my age I'm storing in X. So it's a very good practice that we use um reasonable variable names. Though there are tons of rules guiding naming of variables, such as you don't make use of numbers or special characters before your variable name. Your variable name must start with either an alphabet or an underscore. That is for Python. Your variable name must start with an alphabet or an underscore. So that is one of the rules. You cannot have a space in between your variables as well. You cannot have a number starting your variable, but you can have numbers within your variable. But the thing is, your variable must start with a an alphabet or an underscore. You can have alphabets, numbers, and underscores in your variable name, but you cannot have spaces, special characters. Your variable name cannot start. You cannot have something like this. You cannot have something like this. So that is not a proper way to name a variable in Python. So that is why, to avoid all these rules, that is why I just break it down to one single rule. Make your variable names very, very useful and meaningful. Let it depict what the exact value that you are storing into it. Okay, guys, so before I close this section, before we end this section, I just want to make mention of a few things. When naming variables, we don't make use of keywords. There are reserved keywords in every programming language that are used for specific things. And for instance, there is some reserved keywords in Python are if, and as you see, the color is different. It's giving us a different color, unlike the variable which is white. This is giving us like a kind of orange color. We have else, we have def, we have class. So we have tons of them. So guys, reserved keywords are not meant to be used as variable names. So I'm going to be giving you guys a quick work, and I would love you to just drop it in the comment section below. Just go online, search for Python keywords, and just type it in into the comment section and let me see how far you've researched on that. And that will be all for this video. So see you guys in the next video.